Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to go through a standard tier list. This is covering set 13, so the sets relevant for BCS Worlds in February. With the release of set 13, there has been many crazy decks in the format at the moment, so going to cover them, rank them how they are, and just kind of give you guys an indication of what the standard landscape is about. If you guys need any coaching, my Metafy link is in the bottom right hand corner. Feel free to book a session and we can get started. If you guys haven't already, click that subscribe button for all notifications on this channel. We're going to go through a bunch of these. I know that these are, some of them are old ride lines, so I kind of want to brush over some of them and just kind of rank all, I guess, the more relevant ones and kind of talk about those in more depth. Okay, so Archive got the new PR in the monthly pack this month, so I think it's, you know, your ordinary deck, very straightforward. This monster dude is kind of memey. Vanguard. I don't know if there's another Vanguard. Oh, yeah, there's another one here. So this one is just normal Vanguard. Why would you play normal Vanguard? You have a better tool to kind of use that in. Dianos. So Dianos is actually pretty strong. So with the double art that got released in set 13, I think it's actually a pretty big sleeper deck. I was playing it today at locals. One of my friends absolutely destroyed me and yeah, made me kind of have a second think on this deck. I think this deck is actually pretty good. So I'm gonna put it in A. I think with the new grade 2, that grade 2 is busted, has Omega compression, and the deck is pretty much everything but triggers and PGs, which is pretty ridiculous. Has pretty good defensive options, especially if you are trying to, you know, use the base to guard, especially with the 15k grade 2. So you have really good defensive options as well, good ways to get bases, and that's that. Seraph is okay with the security upgrader. I think that is a very needed buff, as well as the grade 1. Gravidia, I think Gravidia has passed the time. I think B is a good place to say benchmark decks. These won't necessarily win, but you'll see these in, like, you know, round 1 to 3, potentially at Worlds. Who knows? Who knows? Orphis Regis by itself is kind of eh. Wellstra is pretty alright. I think Tamayura later on. There's a Tamayura maybe. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay, so Tamayura I think is actually pretty good. Defensive capabilities, lots of multi-attack, and yeah, it's pretty consistent. I think the numbers hit consistently with the deck. 1.5 Persona Rise is pretty good. The Dragon Tree is kind of memey. Gandiva is just an okay deck now. I think it's still alright. Maybe it's like the top of B. The deck isn't completely dead. There's other tools that you can kind of use. Jeva got some new stuff, but I don't know. Jeva has been this deck where it's a protagonist deck and Bushiroad has done everything in its power to give it support, and it still sucks. Sorry to all the Jiva fans. I know you guys got mad at Kelvin for saying Jiva sucks. But yeah, I guess I'll be on that train as well. I just haven't found a good Jiva list. Maybe I'm just a bad player. I don't know. I just can't find Jiva good enough. Bavsagra, still the same. Hasn't really changed too much. Overlord. So I think Overlord is alright. I think it's probably higher than B, but probably in the lower A tier, just because the deck is very straightforward. It just does what it does. Sometimes you hit OT and absolutely blow away your opponent. So yeah, that's that. Eva. Does Eva have the poisonous one down here somewhere? No. So I think Eva is alright, low A. The deck is alright. I guess maybe we can rejig some of these as we go on. Eugene's a meme and has always been. Shoujo Doji and the Snake. So Snake's much better. I think Shoujo Doji is kind of eh. I say that now and then it's gonna win Worlds, and yeah, I'm gonna be the one laughing at my own video later on. Nirvana, the same. Vietnamese Bruce, the same. Barrow Magnus. Their Unicut is terrible. It's gotten so much support and it just sucks. I really wish this deck got better. I really like the artwork and yeah, it's just not it. Same with grade 3 Bruce. Grade 4 Bruce is too slow. Jejud Mask is pretty good. Yeah, we can rejig some of the rankings on some of these decks. Greedon Mask? Alright, Greedon Mask, there's normal Greedon is a meme. Chronojet. I think Chronojet is a pretty good contender for Worlds. It probably won't win, especially because a lot of decks got power crept. Youthberg, Leonorn, Jejud, those three. Heroes is actually really good as well. But you know, there's always going to be Jet Believers out there. Chaos is a meme, in my opinion. Lucia as well, unfortunately. My baby, she's a meme. Hexa Orb is somewhere here. Sometimes it can just steal games and like trigger sack you out of the game. Graham Grace is a meme. Maybe Graham Grace can go a bit higher, maybe. I don't know. Maybe it's here. I don't know. Minerva. I think Minerva is a very good deck. I think it's maybe somewhere here. I mean, it was one of the best decks coming into the set 13 meta, set 12 meta. It was good as well with Orphis Mask. It kind of just stayed where it is. And I guess like all like the bigger decks just kind of overcrept it, right? MLB is formidable, maybe high B, I guess. Other ones like Flagberg. I'm not a believer in Flagberg anymore. Well, actually, I never was. I think the deck was asking for a lot. So maybe it's a good deck. Maybe it's just a formidable deck, you know, standardized. Same with PBO. PBO can go here. Soliron's a meme, unfortunately. Shout out to all the Soliron players. Youthberg. Is there a Full Blast somewhere here? No. Okay, Youthberg. Youthberg S tier. 100% with the new support for Full Blast. This deck is pretty cracked. You count 1, 2, 3 in Soul. Don't ever Soul Blast them. And you get crit drive, bottom deck card, plus 15 to the front row for no reason. 4 attack deck. And very minimal commitment onto the board. Very good. Has ways to cycle cards from hand. Has pretty good compression as well, getting out all your revolve forms at any time that you want. Yeah, very, very good deck. Probably one of the best decks to bring for Worlds. Grandfia can go here. Leonorn Mask. So I'm gonna separate. I guess Vivace is like here. So Mask is okay, I guess. Maelstrom needs some help. Magnolia Elder. Magnolia Elder can be splashed into Mag Mask. So I guess Elder kind of goes here along with like Nirvana, Maha Nirvana. Zorga is pretty good. I think a lot of people will still be on Zorga because it's a fan favorite. Still a formidable deck, but I think all of the other decks in set 13 just outclass it. Same with Lutetia, Lorana Roll, it's just an okay deck. Medial needs some help. Petrolka as well. Tegria is okay. It got a bit of support from the set 12, was it? Well, whichever set, Clash of Heroes. Bastion Prime itself is just eh. Maybe I'm giving too much respect to B decks, so I guess C decks is like, don't bring them. But I guess it's like, the deck that you're bringing for C is like oriented around that boss card, I guess. Roro was the same, but I think Roro got a bit more support, so I'll give it some respect. Felty is not great. Unfortunately, Michu... Michu is not as good as these other decks up here, so I'm gonna place that there. Willista. This is not. Is that it? Is that? It is. So Willista. All right. So this is Festa Magica Willista, I guess, because we don't have Willista on here. So maybe Willista goes in like top of B. I think the deck is still pretty good, or maybe like low A. I think the deck is all right. Like, sure, you have the restriction. I still think the deck can still function. Kyrie goes here. Celestial goes here. Clarissa goes here. Fortier as well. Fortier actually gets better once it gets the Halloween set. Hazoret's garbage, unfortunately. Herminia gets also better with the new Halloween set. Kyoka, Lufa. I won't rank anything that is Japan exclusive, so Monster Strike and Token Rambu. I'll maybe talk a little bit about it at the end. Messiah. So Messiah goes in A. I think Messiah is still an alright deck. Can still compete against a lot of these other A tier decks. Is this Record of Ragnarok? Yeah, I think that goes kind of down here somewhere. Favanil. I'll give Favanil a little bit more respect. Silhouette Man, yeah. Kind of memey, but I guess it's alright. Yeah, I think it's a meme. Greed on Mask. I think Greed on Mask is actually pretty good. Probably somewhere up here, to be honest. So Greed on Mask, as much as people say that, you know, oh, you know, Gandiva and Willista are like these best decks, right? The reason why I brought Greed on Mask was for an extra damage. And that philosophy still stays the same. So in a Youthberg, Vivace, Ignis Meta, if you bring a deck that has 1 extra damage, that means you're taking an attack that is like 55, 65k. So I think it's pretty good. I think people should not sleep on this deck. I think there's so much potential in Greed on Mask in this metagame. And I think I was playing against Bushimat when he had JP Youthberg, and I played Greed on Mask, and it wasn't that overwhelming. So I think, you know, as much as people say Greed on Mask is kind of like, eh, I think it's pretty good. Shaman King, yeah, it's not as great as it was before. Ezel gets its new PR, so maybe it gets a little bit more vermilion as well. Misty Arc gets way better with the new JP PR that got revealed. Mushi King. So Mushi King actually goes up here. I think Mushi King is pretty good. Mushi King in Japan was released before set 13. And it had to go against Orpheus Mask. And if it went against Orpheus Mask and did well, it should be like somewhere up here, right? So the new decks would be introduced into this metagame and just kind of get bumped ahead, right? So Mushi would probably be somewhere in A. We'll leave the Token Rambu till later. What's this? Claudine? Claudine's kind of memey. Sure. Bastion Accord. I think Bastion Accord is a very good deck. Probably one of the more formidable decks for set 12. Obviously with the restriction on Gandiva, I think it made the deck a lot better. And with Lister being out of the metagame, so you have less aggression. The only deck you kind of need to worry about is like Orpheus Mask. So I think the deck is pretty good. We don't have Quince either, but we do have Magnolia Mask can kind of go in B. I think the deck is alright. Omina Gruzio as well can kind of go there. Orpheus Mask, definitely an A tier deck. Somewhere up here. I think it can still contend with set 13 decks. So I actually think it goes like top of A. Definitely top of A. We've seen results in Japan where Orpheus Mask still is doing good into Youthberg, Vivace, Ignis Meta. So I think Orpheus is, you know, top of the A block guys. So that's that. Now, let's talk about Vivace. Vivace is one of the best decks in the format at the moment. The deck is pretty unfair. Literally, Leonorn got a 1-card buff and went into Oblivion. The only problem with English is that it doesn't have the PR that Japan has, which I guess slows down the consistency of the deck. Otherwise, the game plan for Vivace is still the same. So, I think Leonorn stays in A, but I think it's it's not far off being, I guess, the same tier as Youthbeg and Ignis. Some could say that they're actually, all three of them are like really good. So we're going to put it in S. The deck is very, very strong. Definitely a deck to consider for Worlds. And to be honest, Leonor can just run over stuff and it doesn't really care, right? So that's that. Gravidia Mass is kind of memes. Didn't we see a Gravidia before? There's like a Gravidia before here somewhere, right? Oh, Gravidia is there. So maybe it can go there. I don't know. Gravidia is like so past its time. Vanguard. So Vanguard actually goes like high B, I think. Potentially could go into A, but I think it's missing a lot. Well, not a lot. It's just missing something to bump it over the edge, I think. The deck is still pretty formidable. If you bring the deck, you might just steal games. Yeah, that's that. We won't go through the Halloween stuff. Jujut Ignis, the next big bad boy on the block. I think this deck is pretty insane. One of the strongest grade 3 turns in the game. 4 attacks, your opponent gets set to 0. Has free restand, everything's free. The only thing that isn't free is Rockagore for CB1. CB1, you have the Draco Kid, which searches top 7 for a Jujut Ignis. Yeah, the deck is pretty nuts. I think these three here, the powerhouses of Standard at the moment. But obviously, in due time, you'll see other decks kind of creep up. Hint, hint, hush, hush, Shunui. Other stuff, Alden is memes. I'll put it in D somewhere. It's not great. We'll, I guess, look at those later. And then I guess, yeah, Dragon Tree's kind of memes. Alright, so I guess just to recap quickly, this is kind of the meta landscape for Standard at the moment. If you guys are going to Worlds for Standard, I would highly recommend you guys take this with a grain of salt. And what I mean by that is, this is my opinion on what you will see at Worlds. Now, a lot of people, actually, I'll probably put Gandiva there. I'll put Gandiva there, and yeah, okay, cool. So, a lot of people will be like, hey Derek, there's like some decks here that could be popped up, popped down, whatever. I agree, absolutely, right? But I feel that there is a line drawn between S and A and B, B and C, C and D, that just makes the deck better than something else, right? Whether that means that it has more support, it has better cards, it has a better engine, yeah, pretty much like that. That's just kind of how these tiers kind of work, right? These three absolute powerhouses, so consistent, best decks in the format, not too far off Orphis Mass, so maybe I'll put Orphis Mass there as well. Being these four as like the best decks in the format for English at the moment. Sleeper decks, I will put Dianos and Gridon Mask as sleepers. I think people really need to test into these two decks. These two decks are pretty insane. Those who don't know what heroes do, I highly recommend you guys read up on the cards. The grade 2, I think the card is insane. Gridon Mass is Gridon Mass, you know, 7 damage is just too much to deal with sometimes. Mushi King is pretty good. I think Mushi King, Bastion Accord, Minerva are like these 3 decks that have been there, done that, and it's done some damage and it's still lingering. I just feel like these other 4 decks are just way stronger. I guess Gandiva just kind of goes there as well. Same with Willista, because they're like the previous meta contenders. And then like all these other ones like Jet. Jet's alright. Zorga's pretty good. Messiah. Those are there. Lutetia can go like top of B, because I think Lutetia and Overlord are kind of the same. Lutetia just has bigger riggers, but I think Overlord just has better consistency. I guess Eva can go up here as well. Tamayura, if those guys come down, then I guess they can go there. So like, bridging A would be Eva, Overlord, Lutetia, Tamayura. and then maybe Vanguard. And then I guess all the other decks are like formidable decks to, I guess, get you X2 at a Worlds. Maybe X2 is a bit greedy. Maybe sometimes you have a really lucky day and like just blow through the tournament. But yeah, so that's kind of the tier list for English. So I guess we'll just talk through a little bit about the JP side. Monster Strike with Ebisu kind of goes somewhere here, maybe in A. Obviously with this restriction to Anastasia, the deck is still pretty good. A lot of people have found innovations to it, but I think all the other decks just kind of outclass it now. And I guess all the Tachi, or like all the crest, the Tachi crest is pretty good. I guess like most of these other Token Ramu decks just kind of goes down here. Kashu is actually pretty good, so maybe Kashu goes like here. Mikazuki is actually a pretty good deck. Even though a lot of these are outclassing Mikazuki, I think Mikazuki is still a very, very strong deck. Quince, I guess most of them just like kind of average, I guess. I'll put them at collectively. I think maybe they just kind of go there. Shamu is pretty good. I think Shamu kind of goes in A. Whatever this bunny girl is can go there. Fortia. Fortia can kind of go with like Overlord and the boys. Herminia as well. I'm gonna go there. Morphonica. I think Morphonica is really strong. A lot of people aren't giving this deck enough credit. It's pretty much going up against the likes of like Shiranui, Maigo, Luard, and it's winning. So it must be doing something right. Maigo as well. Maigo is a very strong deck. Yeah, I think with the results in Japan, you can't say anything more, right? Other ones, Labrador. I think Labrador is pretty good. I don't know. Would I put it in here? Maybe like top of A. I think Labrador is pretty formidable. I know that Madoyan came first for WGP Malaysia with this deck. I think today there is a WGP finals for Malaysia, and there's a few Labradors I saw on the stream, so I think it's pretty good. Pacifica is just okay, so maybe drop it there. Siana, I guess it's the same, maybe up here somewhere. And then I guess all the crests, right? So if we had to put it in a nutshell, we'll put it like here, but I don't know which crest is what, but I know that the Tachi crest is pretty good, and Training Tools as a deck is pretty good. So I'm gonna indicate like one of these as like Training Tools, and I think Training Tools can kind of go up here somewhere, or maybe like top of A with Labrador, somewhere there. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much the overlook for standard, and I think maybe with this inclusive of Japan as well. Where I would rank Shiranui, Shiranui is the top of S. I think the deck is crazy. Luard is also in S. Those two Stride deck sets are just very, very impactful. And Luard can play in a way which damage chokes and resource chokes your opponent, and yeah, they kind of have to like no guard at a stage and hope you don't get crit, and then yeah, that's kind of how they get away from their resource lock, kind of take gambles and stuff like that. So yeah, this is pretty much the list for the standard tier list for 2023 set 13 meta as of December. And yeah, if you guys like this video, pop a like, comment down below what you guys think of, you know, the decks that I have covered today. Are there any decks that you maybe like want to raise a tier, lower tier? Have a discussion, let I guess the world know what your opinions are on this tier list. Obviously this tier list is my own opinion, so yeah, don't bash it. If you do, then I hope whatever deck that I bashed, I hope it wins Worlds, because then it'll prove me wrong, right? So yeah, if you guys haven't already, click that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.